is your big idea for the year ahead? What do you think the restaurant industry could most benefit from?
Well, because I have two worlds, I probably have a slightly different view for each one of them. But I think about 2020 as a year that we recognize the need to shift and change. And 2021 for us has been foundational on the diversity, equity, and inclusion front, and just putting an infrastructure in place where 2022, I'd say it's time to show and prove. It's time to see a difference and really bring those ideas and turn them into actions, but also make an impact where our people feel it. And when I think about the delivery business and the off-premises dining, I'm excited because I feel like we've reset the baseline from what we were thinking back in 2017 when we really got into the delivery business. But 2020 and 2021 have shown us that the consumer is ready and they're going to continue to eat at home and wherever they are with their families. So 2022 is going to be all about growing from this new baseline.
Your first question about diversity, do you think the Great Resignation and basically the upheaval since COVID in March of 2020 is going to have a long-lasting impact on the restaurant industry and its hiring?
Absolutely. And I actually think of it as the great reprioritization, because as we sat in our homes and we thought about what was important to us, who was important to us, who we valued and who valued us, I think that people decided that, hey, I know what's most important to me and I'm going to go after it because life is too short not to. So in that process, I think employers have had the opportunity to listen to their employees and adjust how we look at the employee value proposition. I think a lot of it is consistent with what I've heard over the years, right? People want a fair wage to start, but they also want a solid package of benefits, and they want to make sure that they are in an environment that appreciates them, that their bosses are great. It's all about who you work for. So I think if employers really take heed and listen, it can shift how we go to market, not to the consumer, but to the employee, because that's your first customer. So I'm confident that the Great Resignation or reprioritization will not only change how the workforce looks at an employer, but how employers look at the workforce.
How has that impacted what Bloomin is doing?
You know, we've tried to stay true to the cultural values we've had over the last 32 years. And it starts with trying to create an environment that people love coming to work, that it's a great place to work, have fun, and make money. That's been a part of what I learned since 2012, joining this organization, and what we've tried to make come to life. But now we're trying to create that message and share it externally so that you find out even before you become an employee, how do we let you know that this is a great place to work, have fun, and make money? And sharing that message with consumers and broadening and widening the audience for that story.
You have been since 2012 with Bloomin, as you mentioned. What do you think has been the biggest change in labor since that start? And now it's what, it'll be 10 years later.
Yes, 2022. That's my big moment for 2022, my 10-year anniversary at Bloomin Brands. I think that one thing that has shifted since 2012 is the meaning of well-being has changed. So we've always looked at, oh, we want to be a great place to work, have fun, and make money. But now we are giving opportunities for well-being that we might not have spoken out about before. And it's not just enough to give the resources to employees that you can be healthy, both physically and mentally, but also removing the stigma that comes along with it. I have some great counterparts here at Bloomin Brands and many who promote well-being and healthy living. But in the last few years, we've also shifted the conversation to talk about mental health and removing the stigma that comes with having those conversations. And the two go hand in hand. If you want to have an employee that's thriving, they have to start with taking care of themselves and giving them the resources and making it okay to ask for help. I think that's been part of the shift of the last 10 years.
What are you most optimistic in looking at the next year, 2022 or 2023, 24?
I think there's a couple ways I look at it personally. 2022, although it'll be my 10-year anniversary with Bloomin, I also have a senior in high school. And she will get to graduate high school with a real live graduation, not a virtual graduation. She'll be able to have a prom like I did many, many years ago. So personally, that gets me excited. But I also get excited when I think about all of the other parents and students who will be sharing those celebrations. They get to reconnect. I think this holiday season is a good example of what is probably going to happen even more in 2022. I hear so many stories of people saying, I'm going to reconnect with my family in Canada or on the other side of the country for the first time in 2 years. And that story that we're hearing in the holiday season, if that carries over into 2022, it becomes the year of reconnecting and reconnecting to celebrate the moments that matter with the people who matter in the way that you can actually touch them and feel them. Although I loved seeing you on Zoom, Ron, seeing you in person in Denver, those are moments that stick with us. And I think whether they're reconnecting at their table or ours, we're gonna make sure they're having a great time.
And you're talking about the restaurant table. That's a great place for people to do that reconnecting. So that is something to look forward to. On the other side, you're into off-premise. You have a lot of fingers in that. What do
I
you
do.
see that part of the business and how it will continue in 22 and 23?
Well, I think so. I started working on the off-premises business for Bloomin' Brands back in 2018. And at that time, we were doing our own delivery. We were just branching out into some third-party providers. But now those providers are family. Like they are now like suppliers that we just adopted into the family. And how we do business now has to be inclusive of them and making sure that we all win. So I think the evolution of the off-premises dining business is that we continue to see consumers leverage that as a convenience opportunity, but we start to really enhance that experience and give them more reasons and more occasions where they can opt in to choosing to stay at home and enjoy their table, but still have our good food.
And just overall for the year ahead, besides having a graduation in your future, anything you're looking forward personally or passionately about?
I would say the folks who have been working on our front lines, we've been visiting restaurants, but I get so much joy just walking into a restaurant and seeing the faces of those who have kept us thriving for the last 2 years. And I've sporadically scattered my visits in the last couple of years, but I'm looking forward to hitting the ground running and being able to hear their stories of triumph, of persistence, of resilience, and share that message across the organization. So for me, it's going to be back to shaking hands and talking to our employees even more than I get to do now and spending time with them around the table.